global balance of power is shifting under our very eyes, and the United States is taking decisive action to protect its interests in the face of escalating threats. But here's where it gets controversial. The strategy involves targeting not just Russia directly, but also countries indirectly fueling the crisis. This bold move raises critical questions about how we define responsibility in a complex global economy. And this is the part most people miss. The ripple effects of these decisions will shape international trade for years to come. Will this approach strengthen our position or risk unintended consequences? Let's dive into the specifics. The authority granted to the President under the U.S. Constitution and key legislative frameworks like the International Economic Powers Act, the National Emergencies Act, and other relevant statutes. I've determined that the Russian Federation's actions in Ukraine, specifically its aggressive moves against Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity, pose an unprecedented threat to U.S. national security and foreign policy. Executive Order 14066, issued in March 2022, already banned imports of Russian crude oil, petroleum, and related products. But the situation has evolved, and new intelligence from senior officials confirms that the Russian government continues to destabilize the region, making further action necessary. To amplify the impact of our existing measures, I've decided to impose an additional 25% ad valorem tariff on imports from India. Why India? Because evidence shows it is directly or indirectly importing Russian oil, either through direct trade or via intermediaries. This step isn't just about punishing India, it's about disrupting the supply chains that enable Russia's aggression. By making Indian goods more expensive in the U.S., we aim to reduce demand for Russian oil and signal that complicity in this crisis will have economic consequences. But here's the twist. This tariff isn't a standalone measure. It stacks with other duties, fees, and taxes already in place, except where specific exemptions apply under laws like the Trade Expansion Act of 1962. Additionally, goods in transit before the new deadline of September 17, 2025, will be grandfathered in. However, if India or any other country takes meaningful steps to align with U.S. priorities, whether on security, trade, or foreign policy, this order could be modified. Flexibility is key as we adapt to a rapidly changing landscape. To ensure this strategy works as intended, I've empowered the Secretary of Commerce and other senior officials to identify countries indirectly importing Russian oil and recommend further actions, including potential tariffs. The State Department will monitor the situation closely, and if retaliation occurs or if our measures prove insufficient, I reserve the right to adjust the order. This isn't a static policy. It's a living response to a dynamic threat. For clarity, Russian Federation oil includes any crude or petroleum product extracted, refined, or exported from Russia, regardless of the company involved. Indirect importing means purchasing Russian oil through third-party countries or intermediaries, as determined by the Commerce Department in consultation with the State and Treasury Departments. This order is designed to be robust. If any provision is challenged in court, the rest of the policy remains intact. And while this is a presidential directive, it aligns with existing laws and budgetary constraints. Importantly, it does not create enforceable rights for any individual or entity against the government. The State Department will handle publication costs, ensuring transparency without burdening taxpayers. So, what do you think? Is this the best way to handle a crisis of this magnitude? Does targeting indirect participants like India fairly address the root problem? Or does it miss complicating global trade relationships? Share your thoughts below. Let's spark a meaningful debate about the future of U.S. foreign policy in an interconnected world. Donald J. Trump, The White House, August 6, 2025.